Hello students, we are now on the fifth element of art, color. Today I am going to show you how color can enhance your artwork. I will show you how to blend them properly and match them well with other colors. Let's begin. We see color when light strikes an object and reflects it back to our eyes. At night when we go to bed and all the lights are turned off, we can no longer see color because light is not reflecting on anything. But as soon as light is shown to help us see, we are able to see all different types of colors. For today's project, we will be creating a tool that will help us for future art projects. We will be creating a color wheel. This color wheel will guide us anytime we need help finding matching colors or reminders on how to blend colors properly. There are many things we can learn about in color theory, but for this project, our color wheel is going to focus on primary colors, secondary colors, warm tones, cool tones, intermediate colors, and complementary colors. To create the color wheel, you will need 3 sheets of white cardstock. The primary colors yellow, red, and blue in either crayons or colored pencils, a black marker, pencil, ruler, and scissors. You have also been provided with a brad fastener. You will be needing that for this project. If you have the colors orange, green, and violet, you may use them as well. They will be very helpful, but you do not need them. You will also need to trace a large circle that will fit most of your paper and one slightly smaller circle that will fit inside the larger one. Here I used a salad plate and a coaster. If you do not have any circular shape you can trace over, you can always draw them freehandedly. The first thing we are going to do is take one of our sheets of cardstock, the larger circle, and we are going to trace that circle at the center of the page with pencil. Then we're going to take our ruler, find the middle of our circle, and draw a horizontal line. From there, you are going to create an X at the middle of our circle. This will create 6 equal sections. It does not have to be perfect, just do the best that you can. Once you are finished, you are going to trace over everything with a black marker. Now that we've outlined each section in black marker, we are going to label our primary colors in capital letters. Label the top section red. Skip a section. Label the next one yellow. Skip the one next to it. And label the final section blue. Let's draw some pictures that remind us of these primary colors. When I think of red, I think of all the bright red colored fruits like apples, cherries, and strawberries. When I think of yellow, I think of the bright sun and lemons. Blue makes me think of rain, ocean waves, and blueberries. What do these colors remind you of? Feel free to draw any pictures you like that remind you of these colors. Then color the entire section with your pencils or crayons. When I color these sections, I like to first color the background, then go back and color the images with a darker hue so it stands out more. Pause this video and continue coloring the sections red, yellow, and blue. When you are finished, continue on with the next step. The word primary means important or first. You cannot blend two colors together to create red, yellow, or blue, but by combining any of these three colors, you can create any other color you want. Let me show you how. Let's label all the combined colors in lowercase letters. When we combine yellow and blue, we create green. When I think of the color green, I think of things we see in nature: green grass, leaves, and pine trees. What do you see when you think of the color green? Blue and red together create the color violet. Violet reminds me of a bushel of grapes. When we combine red and yellow, we make orange. I think of sweet orange slices and a basketball. What do you think about when you think of orange? Once you are done with your drawings, we can begin coloring them in. If you have orange, green, and violet in your collection of coloring tools, you can use them, but I am going to show you how to create these colors with just red, yellow, and blue. The first thing I like to do is use one of the colors and color in one direction. I begin with the lighter shade first. Then with my next primary color, I turn my page and color in the opposite direction. The color orange starts to pop out, do you see? To make the color brighter, you can go over the section again using the two colors. To compare, I am going to use the actual orange pencil to color my orange slice and basketball to give it a bolder hue. If you are using crayons, make sure to color very lightly. Continue coloring along with me as I combine my primary colors to create green and violet. Notice how I'm using my colored pencils very lightly. To get the right combination of color, I shade in a little bit at a time. If I press too hard with my pencils, I might not be able to get the combined color that I want. It is better to color lightly, and repeat the steps until you see the correct shade. The colors we just completed, orange, green, and violet, are called secondary colors. They are called secondary because we mixed two of the primary colors to create the colors in between. Colors are also described by temperature. Red, orange, and yellow are called warm colors because they remind us of hot temperatures and natural elements like fire or the sun. Purple, blue, and green are labeled as cool colors. For example, when we want to draw water or ice in a glass, we lean towards blue tones, cool tones. And now we have a complete color wheel of both our primary and secondary colors. Pause this video to complete this main portion of your wheel. When you are done, I will show you things we can add to our color wheel to better understand color theory. Set your color wheel aside and take another sheet of white cardstock and your smaller circle. This time we are going to trace the circle more towards one side because we are going to cut it out later. The extra white paper we have left over we can use for scraps. After you are done tracing the smaller circle, we are going to make 6 pie sections again, just like we did with the larger circle. Remember, they do not have to be perfect, just do the best you can. When you are done working in pencil, draw over the lines with black marker. Now that your wheel is outlined in marker, we are ready to create a smaller wheel of our tertiary colors, also known as our intermediate colors. This wheel will show us what colors look like when we combine a primary color with the secondary color that is next to it. For example, when we combine red and orange, we get the color red-orange. When we combine yellow and orange, we get yellow-orange. Whenever we combine primary and secondary colors together, the name of the color is always primary first and then the secondary. So it isn't green-blue, the color is called blue-green. Since the intermediate color wheel shows us colors in between primary and secondary, the wheel is going to be rotated on top like this. To make sure they line up correctly, follow along with me carefully as I label the primary colors red, yellow, and blue in between the proper lines. You are going to label the color red on top in between one of the lines. Skip one line, label the next line yellow, skip one line, and label the next line blue. Pause this section of the video to double check your work. We can label each intermediate color now that we can see how it lines up with our main color wheel. I am going to label each section in cursive. So when we combine red and orange, we get red-orange. So I am going to label the pie section that is to the right of the label red and label it red-orange. Next to it, I am going to write down yellow-orange. Next to yellow-orange, we are going to write down yellow-green. Next is blue-green, blue-violet, and the last section is red-violet. Again, pause this section to double check your work. Now that everything is labeled, I am going to take my primary and secondary colored pencils to create these intermediate colors. If you do not have the secondary colored pencils, just combine the primary colors as I did on the main color wheel and you will have the same results. Remember to color very lightly. Here I am going to show you how I filled in a couple shades, but pause the video and color each section all the way around. When you are finished, we will begin cutting out our intermediate color wheel. Time to cut the intermediate color wheel. First, cut off a straight edge of the excess white paper. Set it aside as we are going to need it later. When you begin cutting, remember to turn your work with one hand, and with your hand holding the scissors, keep it in place, opening and closing the scissors as you turn your work to get the smoothest results. Once it's cut out, you are going to cut a slit on one of the lines to the center. It doesn't matter which one, but I cut my slit in between blue-green and yellow-green as shown here. Once you are done, set it aside. Here is our scrap paper from before. We need to make a double-sided arrow with this scrap paper. This is going to show us our complementary colors. First, we want to make sure our arrow is going to be slightly smaller in length than the diameter of the color wheel. Trim it to the proper size. Then place a dot in the middle of your rectangle. This dot is where our brad fastener is going to go. On the top of the dot, write the word complementary. Below the dot, write colors. On each end, draw arrows pointing away from the term complementary colors. Let's trim this double-sided arrow down to size. You can make this as simple or as decorative as you want. Outline how you want to trim it, but I'm going to freehand cut my way around with a bubble pattern around the label in the center. This next step you may need parent or teacher assistance. Please ask for help here if you need it. We need to poke a hole where we placed our dot on the arrow, and we need to poke a hole at the center of our main color wheel to make room for the brad fastener. You can use the toothpick you've been provided with, a sharp pencil, or another pointy tool, but please be careful. I just finished poking a hole in both my double-sided arrow and my color wheel. Now I'm going to push the brad fastener through the arrow, and then I'm going to take the arrow and the brad fastener and poke them through the hole in the center of the color wheel. Rotate the brad fastener to make the opening wider and easier for the arrow to spin. Turn your work over and open the fastener for it to stay in place. Primary color has a secondary color that sits across from it on the color wheel. Red and green, yellow and purple, blue and orange. These pairs are called the complementary colors. This double-sided arrow will help you find each color's complementary color. When you are having trouble figuring out which colors to use in your artwork, using complementary colors together will give bright contrast, but they can easily overpower one another, so use them carefully. Our color wheel is finally complete, but whatever happened to our intermediate color wheel? I cut a wide circle at the center of the intermediate color wheel and also cut a wide teardrop opening between blue-green and yellow-green where I placed my cut to the center. This will help me easily slide my inner wheel behind my arrow and onto my main color wheel. The smaller wheel is meant to stay in place and not spin like the arrow does. To make sure it lines up with your other colors, check to see that your red, yellow, and blue labels line up with one another. Now you can look at just the primary and secondary colors, and you have an optional insert to see the colors that match in between. Your complementary color arrow also works well with your intermediate colors. For example, yellow-green's complementary color is red-violet. Not only has this become a creative work of art, but this will be a great guide for you to use in the future. Keep this with you, as I will be referring to it often in future art projects we do together. There are many different types of color wheels out there, but this one is special because it was made by you. Until next time, take care and stay creative.